Okay, we are live. So, wait a second, I'm just gonna do something. Alright, good morning everybody. Please tune in. I'm gonna leave a few minutes before I start. Anyway, I need to do... Here's what I'm gonna do. Hello. Right, just let me do one more thing. Just sharing the fact that we are live. So, yeah, so obviously this live, as I said, is about mental health and fitness. We obviously are going to talk about fitness mostly and mental health. It's Mental Health Awareness Week. Nobody has sent me questions, so I've done a little program for the next hour or so about what we're going to talk about. I'm just, sorry, it's because I'm filming as well on the computer, so we can put this on YouTube so you guys can watch it again from YouTube, and also just because I want to share on my profile that I'm live on this page, if that makes sense. So, I am sharing. So, I thought of approaching what is my personal experiences, limitation, the barriers I found in fitness in terms of my mental health, and just talk about certain pieces of advice I can give people about it, and get also talk about supplementation that can help with mental health. So just bear with me because I feel really low. So wait, I just like the fact that Facebook said put on a mask to give yourself a fun look. Not really, no, I'm not that interested. So, alright, let me put that higher. Cool, that's a little bit better. There you go, I'm just gonna in. Alright, cool. Here we go. So, for those who don't know me, I'm Ophelie. So I am currently a personal trainer at Gymbox Barrington. And I also am a circus performer. Wait 1 second, I just keep having tech issues. Why? Oh, God damn it. There we go. Up. Technology. Hey. Come on, whenever you want. So, yeah, let's get started. 6 minutes past. Do I want to put a filter on my video? Not really. Oh, that was weird. Ooh, green. No. No. I want to stay green. Cool. Oh, is this not? There we go. Alright, let's do this. Alright, so, yes, so guys, welcome again. Thanks for coming to my live, whether you're joining now or you joining later. My name is Ophelia. I am a personal trainer at Gymbox in Farringdon in London, and I also am a circus artist. I do all things aerial. I did gymnastics when I was 4 years old and joined the circus when I was 8. So I joined the circus educational program, which was teaching us circus and then traveling during the holiday, doing shows. So obviously I always have had a very strong approach to fitness. I also have been diagnosed with anxiety at the age of 8. So it started with having very strong panic attacks when I was 8 years old, and after that I had quite strong post-traumatic stress disorder, so PTSD, quite later on. So at about 17 years old I started having quite a bit of a PTSD. Obviously it hasn't all been doom and gloom. Obviously when you live with mental with anxiety or depression or some form of mental health disorder, I don't like to call that illness. I don't enjoy being labelled as something negative, because I don't think it's necessarily negative. I think it's I think mental health, and when you have anxiety or depression, I think it is quite, or any other what we call mental illnesses, I think it's because you are developing a bit of an extra awareness on your emotions, and it's the fact that you are struggling to deal with them, and more people are actually struggling with this. More and more people are trying to shield from their emotions, and therefore will develop as a result of a mental health disorder, and it's becoming a lot more appearing, especially as this week, the Mental Health Awareness Week, has been a lot about men in mental health as well. So men who hide very often from their issues. But yes, it's I don't like to see it as a negative light, because I think it's, you learn to deal with it on a daily basis, and that in a sense is actually quite good. I'm getting my brain to wake up a little bit. So anxiety is very often a disorder that is seen as extreme stress, the nerves, it is very, very often kind of like misled onto be seen as just a something that will just go away, and more and more people, and thankfully, are a lot more understanding and compassionate about this disorder. But it is something that you, even if you deal with it, it is constantly there. It doesn't go away, and you develop other disorders as a result. So, for example, in my situation, I have a skin picking and trichotillomania disorder. So, which means that I pick. That would be my eyebrow in that instant. But trichotillomania is people that pull their hair out of different various parts of their body. So in my case, it's my eyebrows, which you can't see because it's completely filled in. But I rarely have any hair on the eyebrow, and skin picking as well. So when you see people skin picking their hands, it's usually not that simple to say just stop, because it's an OCD. Yes, so obsessive compulsive disorder. So to get on with the fitness part of it, in terms of mental health and fitness, I need to drink that coffee so my brain can get properly on it. So I, in terms of fitness, because I have, because I started to do fitness pretty early. I started gymnastics at the age of 4. So obviously it was, it's always been, is the cat. The cat is participating in my live feed. Because of the fact that I started quite young, it's always been part of my life. I think moving is as important as eating and sleeping. So when you have actually a bit of a mental health disorder as well, it becomes even more prevalent that you have to keep moving. You have to do some form of exercise. So obviously it does have that effect of making you feel good, but there are a lot of struggles that when you have anxiety, depression, or any other disorder of that form, that dragging you down to the gym can be quite difficult, very difficult sometimes. So because I started very young, obviously doing, so I was diagnosed with anxiety at 8, but I also joined the circus at 8, and then I obviously discovered that the discipline of fitness, the discipline of training was quite a... Willow's having she's having a fit. Willow, what are you doing? Come here. So fitness was creating that discipline to train was quite important to me. I think it's always been something that just kept me going. Very important. It's been always important for me to just do something and not stop. And quite a lot of the time I have stopped and I found it too difficult and actually making my disorder much worse. Much worse. So in terms of training, when we say obviously training, doing exercise releases endorphins, that is true. In a sense, that is really true. However, in my personal experience, I found myself having difficulties with my approach to fitness in various points. So the first one is when you are struggling with mental health disorder, is to get up, to get out of bed and go outside, go to the gym, go train, go to a dance class. That's already kind of like very difficult, because when you have a disorder you can get up or you can just simply not able to get up, and especially when you have a day off. I actually find myself not having many days off, but when I've got days off, I try to keep them as my rest day for that exact reason, because it's very unlikely that I will want to go and train unless it's something of form of activity, not really training. I usually like to say, well, if we've got an activity with a group of friends, then I will get up, or obviously a show or rehearsal. But in terms of training, that's already kind of like a setback. So doing my job helps me in a way, because I have to get up and I have to train at some point throughout the day. The other limitation I found myself struggling with in terms of a disorder with in relation to my anxiety is social anxiety. So social anxiety is quite something that quite a few people struggle with as well. So social anxiety with fitness is, for example, turning up to a gym that is peak time, and there are so many people that, one, you struggle with the amount of people that are in the gym. 2, you come with an idea in mind that exercising will make you feel better, that you're going to release a bit of your stress and a bit of your hard day, but then you end up having no reach to any equipment, any space. You feel like everything is overcrowded, and it just gets overwhelming, to the point that it's happened that I walked out of a gym because of social anxiety. So yes, so fitness sometimes can, although it feels good, is social anxiety. You turn up to a gym and you walk straight out because it's too full, because it's overwhelming. And also another reason, so the third thing I've come across is body confidence, and a lot of people have got that as well. So if you already are depressed or anxious or any other thing, and you have issues with body dysmorphia or obviously eating disorders, you will have a lot of issues with your confidence in your body. So turning up to a gym, more and more gyms nowadays have this culture of going there to actually kind of not show off, but to look good. People like to look good at the gym. So they go to the gym to look good, but they don't want to look bad when they train. And that can be putting a lot of pressure on people. Very, very much so. I have noticed that quite a lot with my clients, myself actually. And that stays in the lines of social anxiety, but it also is, body confidence and self-awareness. So when you turn up to a gym and you already don't feel good about yourself, and you turn up to a gym where everyone is glistening with their own sweat and wearing these super cool brands of workout clothes, and obviously I am one of them, like women who are not wearing very much, tiny shorts and little bras, because they are quite confident about themselves and they feel good. And obviously it's kind of, as I said, the gym is a bit of a stage for some. It can be a little bit difficult. So those are quite important barriers. Is one, getting the motivation. Two, getting the will to enter a gym. Most of the gym as well, when they're not outdoors. So enter a gym to train. And three is feel good enough about yourself to kind of train in front of people that are very confident about their own self. Right. So basically, those are kind of like mostly the barriers. So I was waiting for people to send me obviously their own limitation and barriers for them to train. So obviously a lot of people, in my case, I always feel that also training outdoors can be a little bit more beneficial, because obviously you're outdoors, you go for a walk, you go for a run, and you reconnect with nature. So that's a really good thing. Not everyone always wants to go in an indoor space to lift weights. And so coming forward in those limitations and barriers, so I would say that getting up or getting out of the house just for motivational reasons, in my situation, is that I know that if I haven't made the effort, I will regret it, and therefore give me more anxiety. Because if you don't go and train, also that's another one, is putting pressure on yourself. So if you don't do it, you know that you are going to feel bad about it. So that's a vicious circle. So this could be like a motivational factor of, I won't say self-pity, but kind of take the initiative to tell yourself, well, this is how I feel right now, and this is what is going to make me feel better. And even if you turn up to the gym and actually don't feel that great afterwards, you know that you've done it. So it's about like knowing that you made the effort. That just kind of gives you the motivation, because if you don't do it, you'll feel even shittier. So that's usually that aspect and that perspective that I give usually to people, is you usually won't regret to know that you've tried. Whereas the opposite, so if you haven't tried, then it can actually make you feel worse. On the other hand, so social anxiety, obviously, I would say when you're not ready to face the crowd, which can happen. As I said, I've done that many times, and I sometimes struggle even when I train my clients, with the amount of people, the music, the loudness, the lights. It's all very overstimulating where I work sometimes, and when you spend 12 hours, you come at the end of the day and the DJ's playing, you can get a bit tricky. So in that aspect, if you don't feel like you can train, or social anxiety is hitting you, I usually just go out or go home and put a YouTube video on of a tutorial and do something else. I do either a little circuit session or a bit of yoga, or well, in that instance, a lot of us like circus artists you can go in the garden or in the park and spin, so joggle or whatever. Just do something else, but don't give up. Giving up just again will kind of go back into that vicious circle of making you feel a bit worse, because you've made the effort, you've had the motivation to go, and all of a sudden you feel like your motivation is stunted by the social anxiety. So it's about finding another solution, but it's like finding it straight away. So is kind of seeing how you feel, what you feel like. Do you feel like it stresses you out? Do you feel like it frustrates you? Do you feel like it's exhausted you? So depending on how you feel, then find an alternative. So if you feel like, most of the time for me at the end of the day, or even starting very early, I feel quite drained, so I would just do stretching and yoga. Then you feel like it stressed you out and it made you even more frustrated, then I would go for a run in the park, or I go on a run on a treadmill, and then I ignore everybody else around me. But I do find I try to find other alternatives, because again, it's about keeping moving. That's really important. It's finding that motivation to tell yourself, at least I've tried. And then regarding the body confidence, you have to tell yourself, like most of the people, that even the one that are very, very, very well built, have got their own, they've got their own body confidence issues themselves. Most of the time, people who are stacked up and look absolutely amazing is because they have major insecurities. And so for them, it is actually already a way of coping with it. Going to the gym and looking a certain way is their own coping mechanism, and you have to see it that way. You have to see it that, yes, there are some people that just go to the gym to look a certain way. Unfortunately, the fitness industry has more and more been built around looks rather than the actual fact that fitness is for health. But quite a lot of people have gone into looking a certain way to actually deal with their own insecurities. So when you go there and you don't feel too good about yourself, this is what you have to think of. You have to think of that those people probably a day or another did not look like that. And quite a few of them you would actually find quite inspirational, because they probably have gone through their own struggles and now are behaving the way they behave now, because they have gone through their own work. So I think, it's obviously, I know that sounds a bit materialistic, but finding the right workout clothes usually can help. You need to feel good. You feel good. If you go to a gym and you feel crap, it's not great. You need to feel good in the clothes you train, and in the clothes you train in. You need to feel like you're comfortable, and that you don't have to fit a mold. It's unnecessary to think that way. You don't have to fit a mold. You just need to feel good about yourself when you go to the gym, and not compare yourself to others, because, as I said, everyone does. So someone who's I've got a client, member who's always obsessed with looking smaller when he's quite built. He played rugby, and he wants to look smaller. So there is always something that people are not happy about, and this is what you need to tell yourself. It's a bit like when you give a speech and people say you need to see people naked. It's the same thing. You need to look at those people as, they probably are thinking the same right now. They probably are putting pressure on themselves. They probably don't feel that great about themselves right now. And if they do, great. And if they want to show off, then why not? Give them that right. So another thing as well that I want to mention that I've noticed in terms of fitness, mental health is also developing an actual addiction to fitness, because that does happen. Will do at some point when you start training. I mean, it's when it becomes unhealthy that it isn't good. Obviously, fitness is good for you. Moving is good for you. Training is good for you. Running is good for you. Having an activity, something that makes you feel good, is good for you. So it's unfortunately, as I said, fitness has built a lot of pressure on looks rather than on the fact that it's for health and making you feel good. With all the internet and the trends and things, people will easily follow their idol, their inspiration, and they will kind of blindly follow everything they do. They will buy lots of programs online that those people sell, and then when the weight's shed as well, for some people, they start being really obsessed with losing more weight or looking a certain way, and it's when it takes over quite a lot of people's lives. So people that get really obsessed with going to the gym, and actually not going to the gym will give them major anxiety as well, or major depression, and will make them feel quite crap. So it does exist. It exists that people are obsessed about eating healthy. It's called orthorexia now. It's actually been classified as a disorder. So orthorexia is a thing where people are obsessed with clean eating. And obviously, with all the societal pressures of looks, then also there are these things where people get obsessed with going to the gym and looking a certain way, regardless of how detrimental it can be to their health, because obviously overtraining is detrimental. Training badly is detrimental. So make sure you don't lose sight of that, because it's quite easy. And it can, don't let it destroy your social life, your private life. If if you're in a family, in a couple, if you have friends, at the end of the day, you still have, I'm pretty obsessed with my job myself. So I'm always working because I'm passionate. I'm passionate about it. That's what keeps me sane most of the time, is actually do things that I really love constantly. And that includes as well going out and seeing my friends. That doesn't include, I will know when I need to train. I will know, and I don't feel bad for not training. I've got an injury at the moment, and yes, I wish I could lift. I wish I could do certain things. But with all the other stuff I want to do, I wanted to do that video. I'm launching my blog. I wanted to do quite a lot of stuff. I haven't trained as much as I wish to, and this is where it becomes unhealthy, is when you are becoming obsessed with making training, and when it becomes an overwhelming priority. You still need to make it so it makes you feel good, not that if you don't do it you feel bad. And that's also where fitness comes with mental health, is it has to stay healthy for your mind. You can keep doing it if you love doing it, if you love overtraining, if you love going. Okay, good. I mean, by all means, you can still, overtrain and exhaust yourself and possibly hurt your body from overtraining, yes. But in terms of mental health, yeah, people can develop an addiction. That's another thing as well to look at. So, when you feel a bit crappy because you haven't been training, tell yourself that some people are on the opposite side. They can't live if they haven't trained or eaten clean. So yes, those are actual disorders that are started to appear. So it's very hard to find a balance. I would say it is. But you have this line of, I can't get started, and this line of, I'm overdoing it, to the point that it's actually creating another mental health another disorder in for your mental health. So it's about obviously getting in that middle ground, finding what is good for you, what makes you feel good, and without being detrimental to yourself at any point. So not doing any exercise, staying at home, not doing anything is not necessarily good. Overdoing it is not necessarily good either. So it's about, in my opinion, all of those obviously are my opinion from experience, is finding things that you like doing. Fitness is very much in trend, but that doesn't mean that it's something that you want to do. I get bored of lifting weights, apart from legs day, obviously. Leg day is my favorite day. If you've seen my legs, obviously you won't understand. But apart from that, lifting weight can be pretty boring to me. I could spend hours training on the hoop and get really tired at train my handstands, and it's draining. It's it would be very taxing on the body. Lifting weight, after half an hour running on a treadmill, after 10 minutes I feel like a bag of rotten potatoes that can't roll around. That's absolutely crazy. But running outside I can easily go for 45 minutes an hour. So as I said, again, doing my training on the handstand or doing circus training, then I can go on for hours. Dancing can go on for hours. So it's about finding the things that makes you happy. Obviously the opportunity of having gyms around are good in the sense that the reason why I do my job as well is because fitness and lifting do complement my own training. They do give you that bit of extra strength. They obviously build a muscle. They give you a bit of aesthetic aspects, which are quite nice, as long as you don't obsess around it. I think it's really important that you find something that you like doing. I like to train by myself. I like to train with people. Some people like to train together. Some people like to go to classes. Some people prefer yoga. Some people want to run. It's finding what you like. Very, very important. Obviously using a gym, then try to learn what you can like to do in the gym. So again, at Gymbox we've got some pretty entertaining and pretty cool classes. So that, some people just come to the gym just to do the classes at Gymbox. Some people want to come to the gym and learn and have no clue about what they're doing. So then that's the reason why I do my job, is about trying to find those people and be like, all right, let's try to make you enjoy the gym. And I've come across a lot of people who actually struggle with enjoying it, and people who want to lose weight, people who want to feel healthier. So everybody's got their own pressures and stresses and anxieties, and they come when they come to you with the goals. That's exactly what you do. So you need to have in your head, the same way that any CBT therapist would tell you, is to actually sit down and look at how and what you're feeling. It is about finding the solution to your feelings. It's like in mental health, it's always been like that. It's this pattern. So what my therapist has told me is this flower pattern. So every time you have an emotion, you have to circle the emotion, which is the center of the flower, and then you have petals where you show what it makes you feel like, and all the kind of things that go with that emotion. Because then by breaking down why and how it makes you feel, you start tackling that emotion in particular and how to deal with it. So you acknowledge it, but you don't just let it take over you. You actually start studying it and breaking it down. So you take step by step, you kind of pull the petals off, and then all that stays is the emotion and not what you feel around it. And it's what you need to do in terms of fitness as well. So in terms of fitness, we're like personal trainers, we work towards goals. So we give people 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks objectives and study how we are going to make them achieve that. And obviously for mental health, this is what you need to do as well. It is not about, okay, I want to do all these things for myself and then try to do it for a week, and then, you know, a few bits of anxiety will start appearing again and again, or as I said, you know, you're going to start having social anxiety turning up to the gym, and then you're just going to walk out and go back home and hide yourself, or feel tired one day and not turn up, and you know, and then the next thing you know, you give up. So very important to find what you like. Start setting yourself a few targets. Forgive yourself for not doing certain things when you don't do them. You know, it's not the end of the world if you have ice cream, or if you feel like you've had a bit more of a cheat day than usual. It's okay if you can't train. It's okay if you're a bit too tired. It's alright if you've trained twice a week and not 3 or 4 times like you'd like to. As long as you keep going. That's the key. The key is to keep going, and the key is to see it as a way of keeping you going. Not you forcing yourself to do it. It is what keeps you going. It's your objectives, your goals, your mindset. It keeps you going. It's having that mindset of knowing that you want to achieve certain things, that you enjoy doing certain things, that you want to improve certain things, that you want to challenge yourself in new things. That just keeps you going. That gets you to actually do it, rather than I just want to get better and this is what is going to make me better. It doesn't work like that, because very likely down the line you will realize that it's not down to just this. It's down to understanding the reason behind it and what to do. So the same goes on for studying when we do cognitive behavioral therapy. Is the same principle, is acknowledging, analyzing by yourself, and yeah, so you dissecate to be able to see clearer, and when you see clearer is when you set your path, and that's what we do in fitness, and that's what I try to do in my own mental health and fitness. I don't lose sight of my objective. I don't lose sight of my goal. Obviously, I'm injured at the moment. There is, you know, my goal is much further away than I'd like it to be right now. But every 4 weeks or so, I just reset. I just rethink about where I've been, and you know, even if you feel like you go backwards, you're still progressing. I still am better at aerial hoop than I was a year ago, even if I haven't trained that lot. Because I've done other stuff, because I'm still strong, because my metabolism has improved, because my body composition has improved, because my strength has improved, and I still practice regularly, even if I don't train what I want to train right now, I still am strong enough to pick up the hoop and do more stuff than I did last year. So this is where you need to see it. You know, it's not looking back, it's looking how, you know, don't look too forward, don't look back. Look at where you are right now, and look at what you can do for the next steps, and look at the fact that you've already made one step forward. So fitness and mental health really go hand in hand. So if you're not going to look after yourself, then the rest will turn to shit. It's about you making that step for yourself. People cannot fix you. That's not a thing. People will not fix you. Things will not fix you. Doing things will not fix you. It's about you understanding what you need to do for yourself to help yourself. That's what I've learned in mental health. It's, you can get the support. That's really important. So, you know, in fitness, it can be the support of a trainer, or a teacher, you know, dance teacher. You know, get support of other stuff. So you have a coach, you have a trainer, you have a teacher, you have a friend that you go and train with. Obviously, you know, when you have mental health, obviously you have like support groups. So you have the support, but they're not going to fix you. It can help you understand and make you that, take the little steps when you feel a bit lost. And it's the same with a personal trainer. We give those steps, we help pave the path when people can't see, we can't see the goals. They want to go somewhere and they don't know how. So in mental health, it works exactly the same way. You want to feel better, but you don't really understand how, and it's about you. Oh, thank you. Yes. So yeah, it's a very hard concept to grasp. I find this is why I wanted to talk about fitness. I just didn't want to say like, fitness is all great, releases endorphins, and it's good. There's so many things and limitations when you that stops you from doing it. And it's very hard. It's very difficult. Obviously people don't always understand. They don't always understand how you feel. But then think again, as I always say, it's you thinking that way, and there are a lot of other people around you that they have their own individual thoughts. And if you were to hear all these little voices in the head, I think, there's a lot of things that would make you feel not better, but that would kind of help you feel like you're not alone. And fitness is supposed to help you do that. So from the moment it doesn't, it's not necessary. So fitness is obviously is really good. So I was going to talk about that as well. So there's this whole mental health aspects, in life in general. So when you want to do something, people want to do a certain profession. They go and study the thing, and then they do. So you always take steps. You know what you need to do to go somewhere. So mental health obviously it's a little bit harder because you get overwhelmed, and sometimes it just takes over you. And yes, the support is really, really crucial, but you are always going to be the one taking care of yourself. And moving is, as I said, as important as eating and sleeping. And in mental health, sometimes it's very difficult to do any of those three. There are days where you just don't do any of those. You do not sleep, you do not eat, and you do not move. And yeah, it can be quite tricky. There are days where you literally spend a day in bed, and you don't even have the strength to get out of bed, to drink a glass of water. I've had days where I haven't even drunk. I've had days where I just stayed in bed. I haven't slept, but you just stay in bed. And it happens. It happens. But again, I think it's acknowledging the fact that you feel that way, and that you kind of know that the day is going to be a different day tomorrow. I think isn't not giving it a deadline, but is really try to pull yourself out of it. So it can be difficult to do so. Sometimes it'll be yourself, sometimes it'll be a friend. Usually it's gonna have to be yourself, unfortunately. And that's why it's scary for quite a lot of people, is because you don't feel sometimes that you can pull yourself out of it. And it's the same as starting exercising, is you feel like you don't know where to start, how, or what is actually, what are the starting point of the fitness, to find this little bit that when you're going to start doing it, you'll be like, that's it. Now I can't stop. Now I want to go again tomorrow. Now I want to do it again. Because when it doesn't come, that's what makes you give up. That's the psychology behind it. So, to carry on with that, I was going to speak a bit more scientifically now, about the science of fitness and mental health. So I had made not a little study, but obviously I'm very interested in cognitive behavior. One, because for me, obviously I've done CBT. I think it's very helpful when you get the grasp of it. It can be really helpful. It doesn't mean that I don't always get it. Yeah, so cognitive behavioral studies are really interested. Obviously, you know, people go through a lot of neuro-linguistic practice, which is really good. I've got a friend of mine, Darren Keith, is really who talks a lot about NLP. He's an NLP, he's a practitioner. So obviously neurology is very important in the fitness industry. So I have been very geeky. So this is stuff that I read, things about nervous system, how the nervous system works. Obviously, in mental health, you have neurological connections, you have neurotransmitters. So you know, obviously, mental health doesn't stop in just a neurotransmitter problem in neurotransmission. So just a few basics. One, in neurology, the more you practice something, the better you're at it. That's the logical way. Why? Is because your central nervous system is attached to your peripheral nervous system. Yeah, so that goes up to your fingers and things like that. And when you start holding something, the nervous connection goes back and forth. So, for example, people that, you know, I get hand surgery, like when you get obviously an injury or you've had surgery and you can't use your hand and you have to relearn, is because the connections are broken. So it's a bit like an electrical current, and there is so I'm just going to use this as a reference, but a cable, I don't know if you see it. So yeah, so the cable is covered in a sheath. Yeah, it's covered in a protection. When you have an injury or when something breaks, then you break that connection. So then it's your brain that reworks in reconnecting this. So at the beginning you might drop the cup and then the more you do it, then you start doing it again. It's how toddlers have to walk. It's how anybody learn new things. But the more you do it, the practice is the fact that your brain is going to put more and more protection around this neural connection. So around this cable is going to put more and more protection, so then the information is going to stop going all everywhere, and it's going to become a lot more streamlined. So therefore your things like grip, I always tell people, hold your dumbbell, hold your bar, squeeze it, because the more you squeeze it, the more you tell your brain to work on something. The more neurologic connections you do in your body, even if you are working your core, your legs, or when you do your squat and you hold your bar, the more you squeeze, the more you engage in your entire body. That creates that neurological connection that makes you better at the movement. So this is one of the basic things. So it is the same thing as routine. Once you start getting up and do things, then it becomes natural. Then obviously in terms of neurotransmitters, there is a lot of things that talk. So there's a lot of things. This thing is extremely and it's extremely interesting. It's talking about motivation. Motivation is one of the vital elements of our mental well-being, which we naturally associate with pleasurable experiences via external stimuli, enabling us to learn. This is nature's way of creating positive association with environmental factors, which allows us to develop appropriate behavior patterns, ultimately improving adaptation and increasing our chances of survival. For example, we might be motivated by certain food or exercises. Dopamine is the key neurotransmitter responsible for reward-driven learning behavior, motivation, and punishment. We all know that. We all know this dopamine neurotransmitter. Low dopamine is equated with low motivation, depression, apathy, low sex drive, fearfulness, and high dopamine is associated with ultra-competitiveness, aggression, risk-taking, high libido, mania, and addiction. So that's one that's obviously is major in exercise, and why people get hooked on exercise. that makes sense. Extra bits of dopamine. Yeah. So there is another one as well that I found. So lots of it is very interesting, but our overall mood is also key to engagement and governed in part by the serotonergic pathway, which we know, as well as serotonin contributing to a general feeling of happiness and well-being. It also regulates appetite, sleep, memory, and learning. So this is the thing, serotonin is major in all the other things that is very important in mental health. Mental health is quite based a lot on serotonin. So obviously if you have low serotonin, you are gonna feel unhappy. It's gonna make you feel hungry, so binge eating. Sleep, it's just gonna mess up quite a lot. It's so in fact 90% is synthesized in the gut. I do not know if you understand what I'm saying. Serotonin is synthesized in your digestive system, in your gut, which means that if you eat crap and you have mental health disorder, you are gonna wreak havoc on your capacity to synthesize serotonin in your brain. I cannot emphasize the importance of that. When you feel shit and you want to eat shit, you are going to make yourself even more shit. It's that vicious circle. 90% of your serotonin processed in your brain is synthesized in your gut. And that is a very major thing that people with mental health disorders should know, I think. They really should know that. I think it's really important. So yeah, obviously it supports motility, just like the central nervous system can be disruptive. Low levels of serotonin have historically been linked to depression as part of the chemical imbalance theory, which postulates is put into quotes. Yeah, salmon sashimi is amazing. I do agree with that. Yeah. So there are foods that really help. So you know why? Vivacity. So just to sideline, it's not sidelining actually, but the reason why salmon makes you feel good, and sashimi and salmon in general, is because of the omegas. So again, the omegas is the essential fatty acid, which will help with the connection in your brain. And also omegas is an anti-inflammatory, so it helps reduce the inflammation. Hence why salmon makes you feel good. And that's why I've got a diet fairly high in fat. I like coconut oil, I like butter. I have quite a high diet in fat. I try to limit my carbs, but I've got high fat because that's where it functions the best. And then yeah, so salmon makes you feel better in that way, because it's high in omegas, and it helps with your neurological protection. That's why lots of epileptic people go on the ketogenic diet. So ketogenic is high fat, is to help protect their nervous system, the connection. So create that, what we call the myelin sheath, which is that fatty bit around your neural connections. So that's one of the reasons why. Yeah, that's one of the things that helps your digestive system and your brain and the serotonin production. So yeah, so high levels as well of serotonin may be associated with anxiety, which is kind of counteractive, but it has, and I have been I have been a witness of that. I have been witness of that. I have been witness of too high levels of serotonin. Yeah, it's happened in life. It's happened obviously. I know that sounds bad. It's happened when I've done MDMA, and actually I don't do drugs for that reason, because I do not like my neurotransmitters being too enhanced. It actually freaks me out. But I have felt that the high level of serotonin made me very anxious. But also, even sometimes when I run, Like, sometimes I break into panic attacks because I feel like so good and my heart is pumping so much blood that all of a sudden I get too aware of this feel good factors and I freak out. That's happened. It actually happens that running actually gives me panic attacks. There is also obviously, you know, the one oxytocin and prolactin, which is the one related to sociability. So oxytocin we know is the hug hormone, and prolactin is the one that the mum bonds when the mum bonds with her baby. So it's bonding hormones, bonding neurotransmitters. So yes, very interesting indeed. So something that's really interesting as well. So what I wanted to talk about, key neurotransmitters. So I'm going to go through those again, as you would like. You talk about magic foods and things like that. I am going to explain which neurotransmitters is related. Oh, this thing is not working anymore anyway. Which neurotransmitters is linked to what possible, not supplements, but how you can help. So the first one, you got serotonin. Very important. It's the one that a lot of us are interested in. Is the substrate. So what helps synthesize the serotonin is tryptophan. Tryptophan obviously regulates, so serotonin regulates mood, appetite, pain perception, body temperature, cognitive function, and sleep. Most serotonin is found in the gut, where it helps regulate intestinal movements. So when you have IBS as well, you're very likely to be stressed. When you have anxiety, I've got IBS. When I have anxiety, I get sick. When I have anxiety, my gut gets obviously out of order. And when your gut gets out of order, your immune system is in your gut. So your immune system is shut down and I get sick. So I get sick. If I get too stressed, I get sick very often. And you will find that yourself as well. Is when you have like episode of very high anxiety, depression, you kind of fall into a little bit of a lower immune system pit. So it's very important to support yourself in recovery. The recovery is really important when you have bouts, when your mental illness takes over for a little while. When you have an episode, I call them episode, your immune system will very likely to go down. Cortisol, raised inflammation. So if you eat crap, your levels of serotonin will lower even more. Your immune system will be compromised and you will get sick. So try to support your recovery as much as possible. So your magic food, salmon, and try to really eat well and slowly get back onto it. So when I feel sick, obviously I won't go, I'm not training straight away, but I will start being like, okay, I'm just gonna go for a little walk. I'm gonna have a sauna. I'm gonna eat well, and you have it's kind of like almost building that discipline. So when you dip, and you start the recovery process, is to really hold yourself up and try to be as good as possible to really kind of help yourself. So tryptophan helps the synthesizing the serotonin. Tryptophan is found in, obviously, when you say like turkey and chocolate and chicken. So it does. However, you need to have certain quantities of it to really. It helps you. When they said the turkey makes you fall asleep, that's not true. It's just because you eat too much food, usually on Christmas or Thanksgiving for those who celebrate Thanksgiving. But yes, so turkey, dark chocolate does help the production of serotonin. As well as serotonin has been linked with melatonin, which is the one that helps you sleep. Melatonin is produced by your pineal gland, which is the one in your head, your third eye, as we call it, us hippies. Regulate the sleep-wake cycle is melatonin. Melatonin can be disrupted by blue lights, your phone, your TV, lights in general, and tryptophan helps that. So unfortunately, melatonin is not allowed in Europe as a supplement. I don't know if you know that, but it's not allowed. So you can order it on the internet, but it's technically illegal. It's still allowed in the States. It helps with your sleep. So we sell in I have to speak like I still work at Whole Foods, but when I worked at Whole Foods, yeah, the tryptophan 5-HTP is what we recommend. 5-HTP. So that's in tablets. The next one, so obviously your dopamine, which helps as well with the mood, the learning, and motivation. And the noradrenaline, which is another neurotransmitter with a hormone which maintains the constant blood pressure. So when you get the adrenaline that keeps you running, is the noradrenaline, which works with the adrenaline to initiate the stress response and maintains alertness and motivation. So those two are subtracted by tyrosine. So they all, by the way, the substrates are amino acids, which you find in meat, which you find in food. So amino acids, branched chain amino acids are the one that helps building the blocks in your body. When you eat food, it breaks it down, amino acids into amino acids, and then the body utilizes the amino acids for whatever it needs it. So building blocks of muscle, in this instance, is helping with the synthesizing neurotransmitters. So tyrosine is one of them. Obviously tyrosine is found in food, but you can find it as well as a supplementation if you feel like you have low motivation issue. You can try to maybe supplement yourself with tyrosine, so that can give you an idea. Then one that I cannot recommend enough, that is super important, that I take myself every day. I don't care about the brand. It's like that's because this one is called L-glutamine. Glutamine is a non-essential amino acid, so your body produces it, but people with mental health disorders are very likely to have lack of it. And glutamine helps with the synthesizing glutamic acid and GABA. GABA is a gamma-aminobutyric acid. And GABA is extremely important. GABA is inhibitory neurotransmitter in the brain that reduces the stress response and helps with sleep, anxiety, and muscle tone regulation. There you go. Those who know me know that I talk about glutamine a lot. Glutamine helps with repairing your gut, again, which will help the synthesizing serotonin better. It helps with your GABA production, your synthesization of GABA, which is the sleep and anxiety. And the glutamic acid as well. And the glutamic acid is for the stress response, memory and learning. But, you know, you don't want to produce too much, but that's extremely crucial. Glutamine, guys, get glutamine. Glutamine is good if you have IBS, because it helps repair your leaky gut. Glutamine is good. Glutamine is good for help for your sleep patterns. I usually take 5 to 10 grams a day, which is 1 to 2 teaspoons a day. And you want to have it on an empty stomach, so I have it before bed and I have it when I wake up. So this is like my main one for mental health. The last ones, guys, is taurine and acetylcholine. So taurine is produced by taurine. Everybody knows taurine. They know taurine from Red Bull, which helps with neuronal firing. So that, the firing I was explaining, neuronal firing to get that movement going. So taurine is quite good is very important for people in fitness, because they want that. They usually have it in their pre-workout, taurine. And it helps as well with similar effect to anti-anxiety actions to GABA. So taurine as well, you can find it in tablets. Yeah, it does exist. Don't take Red Bull. Don't take Red Bull to have taurine. The taurine in the Red Bull would be shit. And the last one, acetylcholine, is produced by choline itself, which stimulates muscle contraction in the peripheral nervous system. So it helps with stimulating the contraction, so get that flex on, which helps. Yeah, it helps with nitric oxide release in blood vessels, memory, attention, arousal, attention span, decision making. And choline is found in eggs. So sorry, vegan. Maybe you need to supplement your diet with choline, but choline is majorly found in egg yolk. Not egg whites, egg yolk, guys. Again, the fatty acid of the egg yolk. Yes, so those are what I talk, neurotransmission, neurology and nervous system with mental health. Another one that I use before bed is ZMA. ZMA, which is a combination of B6, zinc and magnesium. Magnesium helps with the relaxation. So it helps. And here you can see this is matcha. But I use matcha because it's rich in L-theanine. And theanine helps with, again, it's an amino acid that helps with production of melatonin. Your neurotransmitter melatonin. So L-theanine is also, so matcha green tea extract is a very good adaptogenic. So it gives you energy when you need energy, and it calms you down when you need to calm down. So it follows your body clock. I've tried one more thing as well, if you want to know, in terms of fitness and mental health. I am currently trying to work on dealing with my sleep and daylight, so I no longer shut my blinds completely, and I leave them open, so I have light a bit earlier in the morning. But because I wake up at 5 in the morning, I thought it would kind of like get me into a new rhythm. I think, what time is it? We are done. I pretty much covered everything I wanted to anyway. I haven't had any much question. Thank you, Viv, for following, by the way. That's really nice of you. And the guys, I hope that people are going to watch that video anyway. Thank you very much for watching it, and please, any questions, any comments, let me talk about it. Thank you very much, and have a lovely Sunday, guys. Go and enjoy the Sunday. It's still sunny, so let's go outside and let's make our mental health better today. It's really important. Love to you all. Bye.